So this is a bit of a how to play over a tune that I actually have structured, I've written for one of my books. There was a playlist that I made not too long ago, which had to do with play on standards. I will link everything in the pinned comment in the description if you want to check that out. It's a short playlist, but I'm adding as I go. This is called Cool Blues. This is a tune that I, again, written for one of my books. And it is basically a 12-bar blues, more modern. I mean, I think the inspiration here was something similar to like Pretzel Logic by Steely Dan. I wanted to try and find something that could explain what was going on in the tune, but without obviously playing the tune, okay, so that I could actually put it in the book. And this is in the key of A minor, but it has that trick that I explained in that, that fusion trick of moving a fourth down with a pedal note at the top. Okay, and obviously each chord has to be analyzed, and because of that particular voicing is the chord of the moment, okay, and some chords are within the same mode or same scale, same key, and other aren't. So we have to navigate that, okay, take some decisions. So let's say that the first bar, and obviously here I'm going to be quite academic about it. This is probably a video for the academic-minded more than the people that play by feel. There's nothing wrong playing by feel. You can try and see a collection, try and put together a collection of notes that work in certain areas, and then try to always target that. But obviously, if you want more options, you have to analyze the chords and be a bit more academic with it. So we can see that in the first bar, that's the classic, minor blues, Dorian in A minor. And that is basically A minor Dorian. I tend to use, when I explain these things, I tend to use the five shapes, the five shapes. So this would be the second shape in the scale of G, okay? Just to give some reference, a scale is a scale is a scale, and a mode is the same. So if I played it, I'm going out of that particular shape. But for, let's say, the intermediate player, it's good to have a reference, okay? It's just a collection of notes. In this case, G major starting from A, aka A Dorian. So when I then go on that third chord, it's this shape, so the shape in fourths, okay? And in this case, I can still consider this A minor Dorian. Because again, it's like A minor 6/9. I'm not playing the C, which would be the minor. But that's the same, it's the same thing. Okay, so if I play and I stop there, that would be all A minor Dorian. So let me make an example with my little looper. I have a looper here, and I can make a little track for myself. And I can play all A minor Dorian. Obviously, you can see that instantly I go into that kind of bluesy thing, because obviously this is a minor blues and that's the shuffle feel, So obviously you can superimpose the A minor pentatonic, the usual famous, that one, the famous one that everybody knows. And the problem starts when we go to the next chord here. So what is that? And there is enough of it for me to want to target those notes, okay? So I'm still in A, and I have the fifth at the top, but I have a flat 9 and a flat 6. Obviously, if I still want to think of that as a minor chord, the one thing that contains those notes, the one mode that contains the notes, is A Phrygian, which is the 3rd degree of F. So if I had to make a little track for myself on that chord, okay, so you can see that that scale works, okay, and I could still probably play some pentatonic. Even though I would say that the G pentatonic would work better to make a difference, so that you can actually show that I'm in a different section there. I'm in a different, I want to target that as something different, not something that stays the same. Okay. And the reason being is that this is the A minor is the 3rd degree of F, G minor is the 2nd degree of F, so that's the Dorian. In the key of F, G minor would be Dorian, okay? And so if I wanted to make a little track for myself of those 3 chords, it would be, again, A minor Dorian up to here, and A Phrygian or G minor Dorian. It's the same thing, okay? So So you can see that I used A minor bluesy stuff. Okay, because when I talk about, obviously, scales, to me, those are just reference in terms of where I am, the good notes. But then, obviously, when I play, I can play the scale if I wanted to. Okay, and change it when I need it. Obviously, in that last chord, I need A Phrygian. But really, when I play phrases, when I'm improvising, I'm just playing phrases that come from that scale, that, you know, that match that scale. Okay, so, and that's part of vocabulary. That's just part of vocabulary. We use scales just to analyze how things work. But when you're playing, you need to know phrases within those parameters, okay? And then in the next 2 chords, again, I play that D to C, triads, and then I have these other chords, which I could analyze as A major, 7, and A sus. But that could be also just like a sus in minor, so I could go back to A. So I can play A major. But being these a bit of a quicker change, if I play blues over it, blues tends to such a strong sound that tends to obliterate everything else. People kind of acknowledge that as right, even if let's say I play like the flat 7 over that major 7, because those bluesy are such a like widely accepted strong phrases that they pretty much work over almost anything. Okay, so let me make an example of that. And you can see that I played something bluesy, and when it was time to play over that A major 7 chord that goes to the sus, I played the major 7 going to the flat 7 for that sus chord, okay? So it's about when you don't have a lot of time, when that chord lasts for a very small amount, it's about targeting the notes, okay, rather than playing a full scale. So again, if I wanted to write the chords out, let me just delete some of this stuff. I would just write in slash chords. So I would have A minor, and this is D over A, and this is C over A. Then I have A minor 6, 9. And this is, you can write flat 6, flat 9, but to me this is A Phrygian. Okay. Apologies for the scribbling. Obviously, this is all a bit too tight to write properly. Then again, D over A, C over A. Here I have A major 7. And then this kind of A sus type chord. And that's how I would analyze that. This is actually the same thing, a fourth above. So I have D minor. In this case, I have G and F as triads. D minor 6, 9. D Phrygian. And then I go back to the same thing. So in the last section, this is where I have a parallel harmony. So I have E minor 11, which is obviously E minor Dorian. E minor Dorian. Goes down to a minor 3rd to C sharp minor Dorian. Then I go to D minor 11. These are all the same, all Dorian. And down to B minor Dorian. So I'm going to make a little slower loop on those 4 chords. And I think the trick here, rather than using the same fingering, let's say that to me, that's what I would call the 3rd fingering. Okay. I want to be able to play those chords so that I am connecting those chords in terms of scales that I solo over. So I want to have E minor and C sharp minor Dorian in the same area. Oh. Okay, and then I will have D minor and B minor. So I want to find scales that cover roughly the area where I'm in. Okay, but obviously to make a start, if you've never improvised over shifting chords like this, you want to maybe just find a phrase and transpose it wherever you're comfortable visually to identify where that chord is. Let's say this is E minor, C sharp minor 7, D minor 7, B minor 7. Okay. Ultimately, what you want to find are shapes that are close to each other so that you can go okay. obviously you can hear that melodically the first approach sounds a bit more musical because it's a phrase, it's a repeating phrase. But let's say, let me make the track again. So the first approach would be we're connecting. Okay, so in the second approach, I connected more shapes that were local, okay, close to each other. So, and then I go back to a minor, obviously that's a minor Dorian, and I play this. This is a bit of like a Halabianco kind of voicing, where you have that, that diminished. It's like a triad on a note over a bass, okay? So like a poly chord. I think they would call it that way, but ultimately that all it is E7 with a 13th and flat 9. Okay. And it resolves to E7 sharp 5. Okay. And obviously, because it goes so quickly, you can use any type of altered. You can use the from E, the half step, whole step, symmetrical scale. Okay, let me just make a little track for myself so you can hear how it sounds. And so on, or the Superlocrian, which is F melodic minor. Okay, so let me play in a way that it resolves to A minor, so you can hear how because obviously it makes more sense to resolve that. Okay, so that's the idea, and you can see that the difference here is that I always quote the scale, and then I play phrases from the scales. So the scale is just for me a reference, and what you need to learn is to improvise is vocabulary. When I play, let's say E altered, and I play the scale. Sometimes I actually play the symmetrical scale. And then I need to land on a note that resolves that scale to the next chord. Okay, that E, the top E, is a note from A minor. So that's what you have to learn, vocabulary. All these people that get a bit stuck in the academic stuff, which is not incorrect, theory is not incorrect. The more you know, usually I find that it's okay to have some references in terms of scales and arpeggios, and those things are great to communicate to other musicians so that they understand what's going on, like in this case. But this is quite an academic way of doing things. Obviously, to make it sound musical, you have to have vocabulary, which are phrases within those parameters, and play them with feel. So let's say if I played over, to me that's a pentatonic in the blues style, pentatonic phrase in the blues style. If I played, again, that's more a Dorian A minor Dorian phrase. I played that and then I stopped on the 13. And then I played something bluesy. This is something that, say, that Larry Carlton would do. Okay. That's that style of playing. So that's vocabulary within a scale as reference. So you can say that in this chord progression, you can play a certain set of scales. But it's not that you play the scales. You play phrases that belong to that scale. Okay. With the right feel, depending on the style that you play in. Okay, hope this makes sense. Okay, so this type is difficult to explain because some of it could be just played by ear, and there's nothing wrong with it. But obviously, when you organize things a bit more academically with scales and chord progressions and stuff like that, it opens up a set of possibilities that are, let's say, not quite available to people that creative possibilities that are not quite available to people that don't have that knowledge, so to speak. When you play by ear, there's nothing wrong with it, but I would say you're a bit limited in how you can explain it and how you can be creative with things. This is just purely my opinion. Okay, obviously, if yours is different, feel free to leave a comment. I don't have a problem with that. A polite comment, obviously, that is. So to summarize all this, I made a little track for myself. And so you can see how all of this works together. Okay. All right, I hope this was of help. And again, as always, if you feel this video was of any help to you, please share it. Check out the links in the description. I'm using the ToneX patches, which are available for a donation if you're that way inclined. And feel free to share it through social media and all the usual channels online. Take care. Bye-bye.